Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vishwaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Yomavda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sarvavedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste Om Ishwara. We are back here with the Gita chapter 12. We came to, I don't know if we are close to the end of this chapter. But anyhow, Krishna was presenting to Arjuna Bhakti Yoga as the ultimate kind of sadhana. And although he was also pointing out that it's more like an attitude through all kinds of sadhanas we take through our process of spiritual development. So we have seen the 5 levels of Bhakti Yoga, and then in the end, we went all the way up to Jnana Yoga. And then Swamiji has also illustrated that even Krishna Guru says in one of these verses that Jnana Yoga is indeed very difficult because it requires a very subtle, a very contemplative and pure and refined mind or intellect and heart. The entire body-mind complex has to be refined. So otherwise, it's not going to help. It's not going to work. And then we have seen Krishna suggesting Arjuna, if this is too good, it's too difficult to you, step back to do upasana. And then if upasana is difficult, just do a stage 2 upasana, utilize an Istadevata. And then you can become, if that is too difficult, you step down a little bit, and then you become a Karma Yogi, but possibly a Niskama Karma Yogi, a Niskama Bhakta doing Karma Yoga without self-interest and only self-interest, but trying to not only that the sentiment of devotion, but doing things that could benefit society as overall. And then the last is to go back to do the most basic level of Karma Yoga, which is Sakama. So I am self-centered, I am egoic, I just want to get things for myself. And then our scripture says that that's no problem, but begin where you are. But there is always this condition, the condition, wherever you are, begin it, but begin with devotion, as if devotion was easier than be a Karma Yogi, deprived of devotion. Devotion is a byproduct of being a Karma Yogi that somehow insisted in understanding Ishvara system to the extent that one develops reverence, love, and devotion. Anyhow, that should present the 5 stages, and also a good, it allows us to have a good discussion, because all of these stages involves understanding, knowledge, you're going to understand the Ishvara system, and then later on, you're going to understand the teachings of Vedanta, the logic that supports those declarations that the true nature of Saguna Ishvara is Nirguna, which is identical to your very nature. So in all this process, we can say so is it easier to begin already from Jnana Yoga and then try to develop devotion later on? Oh, I go stepping back, stepping back. It brings to my mind the fact in the Western world, we never got much into this concept of devotion, even though some of us are born with the sense of devotion. In my case, I always had this sentimental or romantic personality, as Ranji once told me. And I was expressing devotion towards my gurus. It was always like that. But devotion towards God is something that has to be pointed by the guru to say, hey, devotion has to go to Ishwara, because without devotion to Ishwara, you are not going to go anywhere. And don't try to get attached to me as the guru, because your devotion must be delivered to the Lord. And I pass it on to the Lord, but you need to know, you need to understand that your devotion must be to the Creator. uh. So you are grateful for the opportunity. You want to understand the nature of the Creator at level 1, level 2, and then devotion grow. Only devotion is going to allow us to become a good Karma Yogi. The only Karma Yoga is going to allow us to develop devotion. It's a Cat-22 or self-reinforcing, uh, uh, you know, phenomenon. So, but to begin with, I guess that some of us begin born already with this kind of sentimental personality, romantic personality, which helps us to move into devotion towards God. More common than not, because we are not born in the culture of India, we develop devotion towards husband, devotion towards wife, devotion toward the children, and devotion towards profession and jobs. So we devote ourselves for those things, but we don't have much developed this devotion towards the Creator, because it's very subtle. But if we have a more like a sentimental personality, emotional personality, it's easier to develop a devotional personality. This is my take, because when I read these things, I see like, oh my God, so where are we meant to begin from? Because you will see here in the unfoldment here, so you can go all the way to the lowest level of Karma Yoga, but then Krishna, or better said, Swamiji says, you can be that lowest, Karma Yoga, but even if it's something horrible that you are offering to the Dharma field, dedicated to God. So, how can you go to that level? You still can implement that I'm doing what I'm doing, dedicated to God. This is in the words of Shankaracharya. Yeah, he goes to that extreme. But if you really understood that there is a creator, and understood that we own everything to this creator, and then you start having great admiration and love and devotion towards this creator, it's difficult to imagine that you're going to be doing horrible things. And so you are offering, to howsoever you do your offering, but you have to know it's fundamentally is to the Lord. Okay. And it's difficult to conceive the idea that one can do horrible things, dedicating to the Lord as a beginning in the process of dedication or devotion. So Krishna, we have seen it when came down discussing the fourth stage, and then the third stage, the second stage, and it's gonna go up to the first stage, which is Sakama Kama Yoga. But even as a Sakama Kama Yogi, I have to have devotion, which is an incredible refinement to have devotion. It's incredible purification or qualification, so much so that, Krishna is saying it's the most important thing. you know. Right, Mark? Oh, I'm having some trouble with my throat. Oh, I'm gonna pause here. Just remind me to. Okay, if you cannot love God as Vishvarupa, you know, the entire cosmos, the entire Dharma field, so that you are never apart from it and never in contact with it. So go back and start loving your personal deity. And also Swami is going to, he's going to elaborate still. Let me see here. So you need not bother how to come to the Easter Devata. Now, if you go all the way back to doing your, either way, Upasana or Karma Yoga, based, no, this is more in terms of Upasana Yoga. If you want to go back to do Upasana on your Istadevata, don't worry, you know, because the very Istadevata Upasana will move you again back gradually, lift you up to the Vishwarupa Upasana again. So it's just a question of being in the right place according to where we are at, and then trusting the process, trusting the system, because it works. And then it does not hurt. What does not help is to shortcuts or jumping, you know, into something that we are not really yet qualified to benefit from. And then if you go back to the Istadevata Upasana, and then Vishwarupa Upasana will gradually take you to Upasana, which is the Vedanta Nididhyasana, which must be seen form of meditation if one is prepared and qualified for that. Is the internet okay so far?
Just had one little hiccup, but otherwise pretty good.
Okay. Therefore, Istadevata, don't be afraid, go all the way down. Istadevata Upasana will take you to Vishvarupa Upasana, and Vishvarupa Upasana will take you to Nirguna Nididhyasana, Nirguna Brahman Yan Yoga. And that kind of Nididhyasana will take you to it's not sakshat karana, it's not a direct means, but it's called parampara karanam, means Vishwarupa Upasana via Nirguna Yana. Will take you. So none of those level 1, 2, 3, and 4 takes you direct to self-knowledge and moksha, but they are going to move you into that direction, and you move closer and closer to your destination in terms of more and more preparation, and then only by nididhyasana you get self-knowledge. To moksha. Suppose a person says, Krishna, I'm not fit even for Ekarupa Upasana. And then what I'm going to do is this level 3 is not working because my mind is extrovert and very distracted. The Lord within myself. So Upasana is a meditation, is a very passive kind of sadhana. Yeah? Does not allow to mental activities and much less verbal and physical activities. So it's not easy at all, you know. So, and then you say, okay, if your mind is not fit for because of too much Rajoguna and Tamoguna, yeah, and then you have Kami Yoga is more natural because you don't need to, first of all, as a householder, walk away from your duties of life, you know. And you're going to convert all your day-to-day activities in sadhana, spiritual sadhana. But Kami Yoga works when only if you have developed a certain degree of devotion, you know, as well. So, and then we're going to talk yet too much Rajoguna.
You're breaking up a little bit more now.
Before it can do so many things. But he has to do things knowing that he's doing things to the Lord. Okay, and there we go again. We need to have the concept of God. And then the deal, the business of dedicating, giving back to the Dharma field one's actions with that spirit and accepting anything as prasada is going to prepare the mind for Upasana again. Now, it's the same concept. So you have too much Rajoguna, so don't try to sit down. Try to apply Kama Yoga in your life and make sure that you are serving the Lord, serving the Dharma field. You are offering, you know, you're dedicating and you are taking whatsoever as a gift from the Lord. Vipassana is possible only when a person is ready to really withdraw the mind away from this external world, turn it inwards. I should be able to visualize my Istadevata, which is the level 3, but on the level 4, on the level I'll be able to hold my mind on the concept of Vishvarupa Ishwara, the Lord as the entire manifest world with its laws, this intelligent, supreme intelligence principle. So hold the mind on God, you know, as an Istadevata or as the entire manifestation. So, but for that, the mind must have a little bit more Sattva Guna, and Rajaguna must have has to be converted into more Sattva Guna so that the mind remains, you know, focused on that sadhana. So if the mind is too extroverted, there is no way the person has too much Rajaguna. He's going to have a lot of trouble. I know I believe all of us know, no? The mind is always thinking of something else. The body is moving sometimes. It can be very frustrating. I was really so frustrated several times in my life. So he says, so if the mind is too rajasic, meditation is going to feel more like madness station. You know, one may go a little bit mad, crazy. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm a failure here. I will never conquer my mind. This mind will never shut up. And this madness station is going to be very, very hard for the person trying to meditate, but going a little bit mad about that is going to create problems, not only for him, but for people as well around him, especially husbands and wives, yeah? The family. And then generally, the wife suggests the husband to find another job because one of the big problems is the husband retires and then stays home. And then it's a common thing. Every wife, every family goes through a lot of trouble. Because now this older guy is home creating trouble to everybody. He does not know what to do with his life anymore. He's trying to control everything inside, and the just jurisdiction belongs to the wife. So if that is a problem, come down to the second level. You have too much activity, and use all that energy to do things, but offering something to the society, not just extracting value, but offering value. And that takes us to the verse number 10. If you're incapable, Arjuna, of abhyasa yoga, which means Kama yoga here, Upasana yoga, on a deity, Ishtadevata, if you are incapable of doing that kind of meditation on your Ishtadevata, not to say you are unable to hold your mind on Vishvarupa Ishvara, so be my devoted, be a devote. So develop devotion and do work for me, knowing that you are doing things, offering to me, because everything resolves in me. The Dharma field is my expression, my physical and subtle expression. So be devoted to me, be devoted to my work. It's a huge, again, you have a lot of Rajaguna, okay, offer everything to me and go there and do a lot of very difficult Westerns, this concept. Very difficult. So even by doing works for my sake, you attain indirectly, you will attain liberation. Now, when you see this in the context of Westerns, it's like, okay, I can meditate, and then you see, okay, and then you're going to be devoted to me. You're going to be very active in the world by offering everything to me and taking the results as prasada. And then the person may say, oh, forget it. I prefer to go there and go mad trying to do upasana, because how am I going to do, all my actions, devoted to Ishvara, and not being selfish and so on. So it's a step three to step two, but it's a big thing because you have to be a devotee of the Lord. But that is the way to go. It's easier for the Indian people, these concepts, because they know what devotion is. They have the concept of God. It's embedded in the society. So Arjuna, if you are unfit for abhyasa yoga, which means Ishtadevata Upasana, Ekarupa Upasana, you are too extrovert, so it does not matter. Be committed to life of activity, and I divide those kind of lifestyles in two according to the scriptures. One is Niskama Kamani, and the other is Sakama Kamani. So try to be a Niskama Kamini. You be very active in society, dedicating your actions to serve society. And you have to understand, and here's the key, and remember that the society means Ishvara, taking the very society as Ishvara. I am the Dharma field. I am society. I am the field in which all human beings interact. Don't serve. Dedicate your actions to the laws and principles supporting the society, which is my creator, my creation. Do serves to me by upholding the Dharma and serving society. So, how to contribute to society? You have to develop a personality which is not all about me. So, ahankara, mamakara. You have to keep in mind that all rivers flow down the plains from the Himalaya. To what purpose? To serve humanity. Here Swami presents some of these beautiful analogies nature provides us with, like waters, they flow from up there to the levels of the plains. What? To serve society, to allow agriculture and something else. Everything is contributing. The trees contribute. They provide, for India, it's very important, they provide shade. So they provide shade, and then they provide fruits. They provide seeds so that more trees come from the seed, the fruits as well, the seeds. So it's an unfoldment of giving back, into society, to the world, to Dharma field. Doesn't matter. The trees do not bother. If you throw stones on the tree, still the tree is going to give you the fruit. The cow give milk and so on. So we find in the nature, everyone gives more and takes less, except human beings, especially when they are too ego-centered, self-centered. If we would make a balance sheet, it would be on positive if we take nature and the vegetable rain, maybe the animal as well. So let's try to find, to develop a balanced sheet in terms of giving and take. So what do the trees do? So we have seen that they protect us from the Indian sun during the summer. And they do that by, they themselves stand there, they hold, they hold very, steadily, taking the sun, and a lot of the time the leaves dry and so on. But they stay there, providing shade. This is important in India. Every tree is like a Mahatma, standing there, providing some value to society. Let your entire life be a life of tyaga, a life of dedication, of giving more and taking less. A life like the other bhakti, which destroys itself, and in the process, it gives fragrance to the surround. So a life like the other bhakti. So is it referring to the flowers, which destroys itself in the process? It gives fragrance to the surroundings. So thus may your life be one of contribution. And when you contribute to your society, you are having the proper attitude. But if you contribute, and then Swami just opens here a little side note saying that if you want to be active, if you can do a lot of selfless work in society, charity work, you can go ahead and do it, but do with a proper attitude, meaning to say, don't allow that to be feeding your ego and say, oh, I have done so much, look at me, I'm so good, and this and that. So do it with a spirit of dedication to the Lord, okay? Knowing that everything came from the Lord, is going back to the Lord, therefore there is no need to develop any vanity and start bragging about how much you do. Otherwise, you neutralize any good you could get in terms of spiritual development from serving society. So don't be arrogant, don't be vain. I have done this, I have done that. Therefore, when you contribute to the society, look upon the society as Ishwara again, Oh, you are very Rajasic? Okay, and then be an Niskama Karmani and do a lot of things serving society. But you need to remember that you are serving Ishwara. Therefore, you have to do that, dedicating to the Lord. It goes back to bhakti, devotion, understanding the nature of God and the value of God the way it does everything, and why we should be at least thankful and doing something in return. Okay, quite some Sanskrit here. All these indicate that I consider it is an opportunity to worship Vishvarupa Ishvara. You see, when you are doing that level of Bhakti Yoga, you are mostly addressing Vishvarupa Ishvara, no? Because you're offering your actions to the Dharma field, and the Dharma field is our environment. So Ishvara is a manifestation of the Dharma field of all environments, all societies. And so as an opportunity to serve Ishvara, I'm worshiping Ishvara. What kind of Ishvara? It's not a deity, it's Vishvarupa Ishvara, because I'm dealing with Ishvara as the Dharma field. So the second level of Kama Yoga, which is Niskama, selflessly active, is the second step, and it's already big. It's already difficult, especially for Westerns, No wonder people prefer to go into those expressions of spirituality in which there is no God, there is no question of devotion, and they want to go to Samadhi Yoga or to Yani Yoga, which more often than not develops intellectual understanding without direct knowledge, Therefore, Krishna says, if you do this karma with this attitude, that will lead to spiritual purity, which will make you qualified for Ishta Devata Upasana. Okay. So now you are Kama Yogi, you step down to Niskama Kamani, and then you are dealing with Vishvarupa, and then you say, that is going to purify your mind. And then you can step up again and go and do Upasana to your Ishta Devata. So if you are already relating to Ishvara as the Dharma field, and you are serving the environment, society, and so on, if you have that understanding, chances are that you can jump to level 4 and do Upasana directly on Vishvarupa Ishvara as well, When you lead a life of service contribution, paropakara, what will happen? You attain liberation again, indirectly, be very careful. So by Niskama Karma, otherwise called Niskama Karma Pradhana Karma Yoga, if you look at the life of every freedom fighter, and then he brings this example of people who have some very high moral values, and most of the time, in terms of political terms, fighting for freedom of a certain nation or people under, suppression of governments, he's going to give one's life, dedicate one's life to this freedom fight. Read their biography. They have sacrificed everything, their health, their money, their family, and most of it. Sometimes they get tortured as well, but they do everything for a higher goal, which is freedom. It's not the freedom we are talking about, relative freedom, freedom of expression of ideas, words, religious, and to a certain degree, some level of financial freedom. But these people, they live their life fighting, and many of them never saw the result. They never see the freedom. They sacrificed everything, and we enjoy the freedom which was obtained by these people. In the United States, we often hear these things, of your forefathers have done so much to provide us a society in which there is freedom of this, freedom of that. And now if we neglect, we're going to lose it all, and then all effort that all sacrifice they did for us may be wasted now because we are not vigilant to keep it. As we know, everything in life takes a lot to get, but takes a lot to keep as well. So if you do that, if you sacrifice your likes and dislikes, if you become a niskama karma yogi, you certainly attain liberation. Again, be very careful. You cannot attain liberation directly by being a karma yogi. Swami says, I'm never tired to repeat it. You have to be careful because otherwise you may be confused by this verse. Niskama karma will make the mind red for ekarupa upasana. Okay, upasana on your favorite deity, which will make the mind red for aneka rupa upasana, upasana on Vishwarupa Ishvara, which will make the mind red for aham brahmasmi yana. So Shravanam Manana Nididhyasana that finally leads to self-knowledge and moksha. Therefore, Arjuna, take to a life of niskana karma, selfless activity. This is the second step. A person may agree that, oh Lord, this seems to be too difficult for me. It's a nice idea, but how can I do this sadhana? I have so much tamaguna. I have some rajoguna, but my tamaguna makes my desires to be self-centered, make my desires to be all about myself and at the most some of my children and wife. I have countless desires in the world, and they are mostly desires for my own benefit. I would like to have a global tour. I would like to have a house. I want to travel to America, Europe. I would like to have a car. My desires are so many. I mean, I have no room to fulfill desires of society. And that's understandable. That is common to a Rajasic mind, which is still influenced by too much impurity, which is tamaguna. Tamaguna is conducive to self-centeredness, okay? Because the mind is not refined enough to see that the only way to win is, everybody winning. So I want things only to my children, to my wife, and myself, period. My responsibility is only that. My job, my family, educating my children, and everyone should look after themselves and their children. And he says that, but the problem is the tragedy here that one may say, no, I'm going to remain focused as a sakama karmi, at least until my children grown up and they become householders, and then when everything is set, and then I'm going to become a niskama karmi. I'm going to start doing selfless karmas. And say, no, but it does not happen that way because it's not something that is resolved in one generation. Your children are going to provide grandchildren. And when you see, you're going to feel like, no, I have to keep doing what I'm doing to provide to my grandchild as well, to my grandchildren. And then there are one generation, two generation, three generation. And the Karma Yogi here is caught up with that endlessly. Many duties as father, wife, grandfather, and so on. I will never have time to do selfless work in this way. I may complete all these duties, and one day I may come to do selfless work. I may set up an ashrama or doing something very nice. But the problem is, you never get there. Your problem will be solved, and any problem will, and my problem will start. Some makes a joke, so no, don't think that you're gonna keep running in the rat race under the excuse that you have to provide here, provide here, provide there, and then when you come to 7 to 8, you come and you want to join the Guruji and live, serving the Guruji. I say, no, don't even come close to me because your problem is going to become my problem. So forget about that. You are never going to get out of that trap. A lot of people trying to escape the trap in the very end, running into the ashrams, and the Swamis I say, no, thank you, no vacancy right now. Okay, so no, Swamiji, I don't agree with you. When I complete all my duties, I will become a Niskama Karmi. Let me pray for my children, grandchildren. Swami plays with words and says, yes, they have a long list of accomplishments that they need to get. And then one after the other, we say comma, comma, comma. There is never and no full stop to this list of accomplished desired by the Karma Yogi. Comma is that which has no full stop. So what I'm supposed to do, Swamiji? Krishna says, okay, you have world desires so many that you cannot put an end to that list. So go on and fulfill all these personal desires, nothing wrong. If you're interested in the education of your children and grandchildren and everything, so keep providing, keep running to provide. There's nothing wrong. It's only about you and your family, but it's better than nothing. Provide. You do that with the spirit of devotion. Devotion to whom? To my children, no, to God. And that is the difficulty, But I'm already devoted. I'm devoted to my family, my job, my children, my grandchildren. No, you have to convert that devotion to all these people to devotion to God. God in the form of your family, your children, your house, your job, and so on. The same, the usual difficulty, especially for Western. You may have all your desires. You can do all your sakama karmas. Veda itself prescribes many kamya karmas for children's educations and so on. So Veda is aware of all of this, and Vedas are very much aware of the different stages of development of a human mind, and it needs to allow for the develop from where we stand, and say it doesn't matter. You have to get into the game of spiritual growth, and remember only one thing: you must be doing all what you're doing, dedicating to the Lord. Not easy, huh? Especially for Westerns. Any desire you have, fulfill that first before you come to Vedanta, because when the unfulfilled desires are in your mind, you may try to come to Vedanta, but it's not going to work. Only those desires will overrun in the mind. Such a person, Krishna calls Mithya Karasya Uchayate. Did you check the meaning of this?
Yeah, it's a hypocrite described in the verse below that says, the deluded person who restrains the organs of action but continues to dwell on sense objects in the mind is called a hypocrite.
Yeah, I was guessing that because that is said by Krishna in chapter 3 of the Gita. It's I say I want moksha, but in truth I want our desires, and it's much better the person accepts. No, I want the world more than I want self-knowledge. Period. But I enjoy playing with Vedanta, learning about Vedanta. But I have desires to the world. So that is more straightforward statement. But say, no, I want moksha, I want self-knowledge. Whereas my mind is dominated with all kinds of worldly desires, is presenting a face to the words which are not your true face. Any unfulfilled desire is in the mind, it will create a bug. Therefore, whatever you want to eat until you get very sick. Swamiji. Whatever you want to eat, but connect the dots between the pleasure of eating and the effect of feeling discomfort or other side effects. Do it legitimately. If you want to sin intelligently, as Shimaya used to say, you have a strong vasana for chocolate, okay. So do it. Don't steal the chocolate, work and buy the chocolate, and then eat, enjoy the flavors, but connect the dots between the pleasure and its consequence. Krishna says, may you be committed to Sakama Karma. Let your Karma Yoga, Sakama Karma, Karma Yoga does Pradama. Let your Karma Yoga, Sakama Karma Pradama. Allow for all of this, okay? You are self-centered. Want to accomplish, you accept that no, my desires are for things of this world. I'm not even interested in spiritual growth. I'm not interested in serving the society as a means to develop spiritual purity. I just want to have these worldly things, period. Scripture says, okay, perfectly well. Okay, and then how should I practice Kama Yoga? And then Krishna says, I will tell you. This is the lowest step in Kama Yoga, which is given in the 11th verse. We will read. And here, most probably, he says, if you are not able to do this, the level 2, go to level 1. With self-restraint. So before he was saying, so do what you do, but with an attitude of serving me. Now he's saying, renouncing the results of actions with self-restraint. So those are all aspects of the spirit of the Kama Yogi, doing actions with donation and giving out, of serving, dedicating, and accepting any results, either the good ones as the bad ones, as prasada. So your relationship with God is alive. And the emphasis here is on devotion. So if you are still self-centered and you want to do things only for you and you alone, so take into my worship me. not only do actions with a spirit of dedication to me as the Dharma field, but also don't try to control the results. Take discipline of self-restraint. So there's a huge qualifications, as we know, which is quite a stretch for someone who is completely self-centered, to my take, you know. So the second step was too much for any one of us. Karma yoga is a life dedicated to niskama karma. If you are not able to do that, you know, serve yourself, serve your family, serve only you. But Krishna says, if you're not able, commit to serving you, to fulfill your personal desires, the desire of your family. Forget about serving society. But does not matter. Not able to serve society does not matter. Serve yourself. Krishna says that if you're not able to commit to serving others, serving society, serve yourself, but with a certain attitude. If you're not able to do that, then may you take sakama karma, but the attitude is in there, and that's what makes it a little more difficult for self-centered people. So what would be the first step? If you are self is like you want what you want for your families, your desires are many, worldly desire, but never violate the Dharma as a means to facilitate your success. So observance of Dharma is already fundamental to be a lot which are instructing, you know, the society, the Dharma laws. And that is an indication that the individual has a certain self-restraint, you know, restraint. Because no, I'm not going to do anything illegal. I'm not going to violate. I'm not going to do anything that hurt others. And so that is an indication that the person has a relationship with Ishvara by considering the laws, the universal Dharma, and not doing things to hurt anybody. So he says, if you cannot do that, do your self-centered actions with an attitude. The attitude is you are doing that with dedication, and you have no control. You know you have no control of the results. You take everything as prasada. So always observing Dharma from the stage number one, which is a clear indication that the person must have a relationship with the Lord. I mean, there is no Karma Yoga without observance of Dharma, you know? Because Karma Yoga is transforming one's day-to-day actions based on worldly desires into spiritual sadhana. But it is a spiritual sadhana only if you are not violating Dharma right and left. You cannot violate Dharma right and left. And that goes back to hypocrisy, you know? Some people, they pretend, but they are doing a lot of things behind the scenes, which are total violation of the basic Dharma laws. People are unfair, unjust, even when they're doing small business, you know, in negotiating with people, they're squeezing people. We see it so much, especially in Brazil. You don't see people pretend to be spiritual, but squeezing anybody at any moment, if possible, you know, if they can, you know. So with observance of Dharma. He goes on on a more, Sankaracharya goes to the extreme of well-laid Dharma, which is a contradiction terms, you know. He says like, if that is why in some place animal sacrifice are permitted in our Vedic scriptures. So it is a dharma to kill other creatures just for the sake of sacrifice and so on. And so we allow that, it says, you know, if you do kill the animal and offer to God. So that goes to the concept of not being vegetarian, but you eat meat. We're saying, Lord, you know, I know it's all you. I'm taking this meat. I'm going to feed my body with this meat, and I offer this sacrifice to you. You know, thank you, Lord, for this piece of meat that can be said in a certain way. Provide, you know, we don't do things like that out of proportion. As you know, I eat some meat, and it's good for my body. And I have a tank with fish. And but we have to remember, thank you, God, thank you for this meal, thank you know, offering to the Lord whatsoever. But even the animal sacrifice that they use in the past, certain tamasic rituals prescribed in the Shastras, they are permitted by the Vedas. The idea was that if people is helpless, let him or her convert into puja, those sacrificials sacrifice, and gradually they are going to come out of those things, you know, rituals in which they sacrifice other living creatures' lives, you know. So, and then there are some other people, they are helpless, they take liquor, and then they do some rituals in India in which there is some liquor involved, and they are offering the liquor to the puja, you know, to the Lord, and they are taking some and say, so I'm helpless. I can't help but be a drunk. So, but I offer you and I dedicate it to you. So those are extreme ideas, meaning to say that you can be a terrible person, but if you keep the Lord in mind, always with the concept, the notion that please help me out. I feel very, very helpless in regards to some of my weaknesses. Something like that. You guys feel free to comment on those passages as well. Especially today because my throat is hurting. It's better to give them up, but legitimate worldly desires, it's better you fulfill. There's nothing wrong. So the thing with these worldly desires, there is a teaching that says it must be first legitimate, you know. So it's legitimate. So I need this. I need it for what? It's not just because I need to enjoy some sense pleasures. I need this for whatsoever practical reason, you know. So it must be legitimate, and it must be moderate as well. Okay. So, but if the desire is legitimate, okay, so I must have this and that, but there is no moderation. The more the better. Boom, boom, boom. A new car, a new house, a new this, and all kinds of, you know, foods and so on. So it has to be legitimate and moderate, and it goes to the some passage of our scripture says a mother, for example, legitimately loves and protects her child. Okay, but the sake of the spiritual development of the mother must be moderate, otherwise the mother is going to harm the child and herself as well, you know, and it's going to create, you know, bad results there. Be legitimate and moderate in your desire you do not violate Dharma while pursuing your worldly desire. There is nothing wrong. That will allow you Aniskama Kama Yogi. What should you do when you are doing Sakama Karma? What should be your attitude? When a person does Sakama Karma, selfish activity, and the person certainly expects the results. I'm doing, I mean, it's very connected, you know. I do what I do, and I do because I want to enjoy the fruits, the results of this action. I don't do things simply for the sake of doing. I do because I want to enjoy the results and my expectation that the results are going to be good. Otherwise, nobody does things expecting to have bad results because nobody likes to suffer. So we do what we do because we want to enjoy the results. No? So, and here again says, so okay, you have a list of worldly desires, you're going to do a lot of self-centered actions, and but don't expect the result. Don't expect the result. But if people do what they do because they are connected with the result, they have such an expectation, otherwise they don't have the motivation, you understand? The motivation is I want to enjoy the result. But say don't expect the result. Immediately puts the person in a difficult situation where I'm going to get the motivation to expect any goods results, you know. So another person like that, you can go and do everything. The person is certainly expecting the results. He's not doing it to serve society. Even if you're doing to serve society, don't expect the results because things may go wrong, you understand? It's even a step further. He's not doing it for Chitta Shuddhi, you know, for self-development only and personal benefit only you do. But what should such a person do? Yet dedicates those self-centered actions, observing Dharma, but not expecting any results. It's like somebody come in your house and is saying, okay, so and can you help me out, find me some work? And then Mark says, oh, it's okay. You see this piece of land here? Is my piece of land and I have to grow some vegetables and some food, so on. If you want some work, be my guest. You can help me out and work here, but don't expect salary, don't expect anything, you know. So, and of course, okay, so, and then you want, it's more or less, you're Rajasic, you have some tamas operating as well, you want it only for you, you keep doing, go for it, but don't expect the result. Observe my laws and principles, don't violate the Dhamma, and know that the results are going to be given by me, and you have no control. I am the Karma Paladatta. Again, reinforce Jiva, and the creator. Dwara. Dedicate your actions, come and work for me, and dedicating, knowing that you are not working for me, you are working for God. And then God in the end is going to decide if you're going to get a salary or not. Therefore, when the result comes, don't take it to yourself. Don't take it, it's a fruit of my labor, or I control the pala. You don't do anything for the sake of society. Do it for you. Be selfish, but the result, don't expect it. And when it comes, know that it's coming from me. We allow you even to be doing your work selflessly. But you don't need to share the results with others. You enjoy the results alone, but don't expect the results. And when the results come, if it's punya, great. If it's papa, great, because you did without expectations. And never call it kamapala, but call it Ishwara Prasadam. Again, one has to be very, very anchored within this relationship with Ishwara. It's something amazing. That's what's going to prepare the mind for Yin Yoga as well, because all those frustrated expectations again and again that produce emotional disturbance, strong emotional problems, those are going to be neutralized by understanding and developing this attitude of even if I do selfless work, I do without violation of Dharma, serving society, doing my action, offering my actions to Ishwara, and take the results as prasada from Ishwara, never developing the arrogance and the vanity. They say, I am a go-getter. I can accomplish anything I want, Everything should come as a gift from the Lord. Once you do that, you take everything as Ishwara Prasad, even selfish action will have the capacity to purify your mind. You want things for yourself, you don't want to share, it's okay, but your relationship with Ishwara is just Ishwara and you do it because you want to enjoy these things alone. But if you remember Ishwara, as you put your actions in the field and as you receive the results, that will purify the mind and prepare you to Kama Yoga. Selflessness is impurity. Selfish action regularly without this spirit or attitude of dedication and taking things as Ishwara Prasada, a regular selfish action will never purify one's mind. But your actions and take the results as gifts from the Lord. We live with Ishwara and everything we get from Ishwara. When you build a house, you build not to give to others, but for your own living and the living of your family. Krishna says that's understandable, it's natural, does not matter. Keep the house, use the house, but never look at the. We have to always look at the house as something that Ishwara has provided us as a blessing somehow, This is the Lord's house. Everything belongs to the house, to the Lord. Therefore, when you step into the house, put a picture of the Lord saying this house belongs to the Lord. Then you install the Lord anywhere, at least under the staircase. He said you can choose any wall. Most commonly people in India, especially people who do not have much space, makes the puja space underneath the staircase. They put a little altar. Okay. I'm sorry I'm a little bit off and my voice is giving me trouble. but I'm just a bit tired. We did a one day trip back and forth to Brazil. We meet again soon. Monday, Tuesday, it's good? Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate Om Shanti 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 Om Ishvara Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlinda.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right. See you Monday. Bye now.
Thank you.
Can't find the leave button. Very strange.